Okay, so we have a new episode of Legends and Leaders, and today it's great to have Daniel here. Daniel, you created an entire new avenue for people that were rap fans to enjoy content around that at rap on social media, which really blew up and has become the de facto news source in the category. And you've really gained a lot of incredible skills about building brands online through that whole experience. You've now got something else that you're going to be announcing fairly soon that you're working on, and you can think a little bit about here. It's interesting in the travel space. But you got a lot of incredible lessons and built this thing up from nothing. So I'm excited to have you and to dive into this journey.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you for having me. Excited to talk about that. I always love sharing.
Awesome. So Daniel, just kind of going back to the beginning, how did your interest in entrepreneurship begin? How did your interest in like kind of online businesses and stuff like that? How did this passion start?
For me, to answer the question, me it was innate. Um, I don't know what it was about me. I was always just that like hustler kid, trying to do something, make some money. Maybe I was really trying to run from something. Um, Maybe some you know disdain for authority components to it. And I think just like ultimately something to prove. I think I had a really big chip on my shoulder. And for those reasons, had a hard time ever seeing myself as just like another cog in the wheel. And I think those are kind of the elements of what makes a lot of entrepreneurs. So for me, um, it was just always something I wanted to do, aspired to do. Even when I was young, I remember seeing these, thinking about these entrepreneurs as almost these, godlike figures, and it seems so out of reach for me. And yeah, I was fortunate enough to fall into it when I was still in college and have a lot of success, and never turn back.
Mhm. What was your first business, Daniel?
My first business, um, how I got started in my career in online marketing was I was 19 years old, and this was December of 2012, and I got started just with the goals and aspirations of making $45 a week at the time on Twitter. People had accounts, and there was all these different websites like My Likes, Cha Cha, that would pay you per click. So the goal was to grow an audience. The bigger you grow the audience, more traffic you can send, and you can make a little money. And that would fund my, the beer money on the weekends. That was my goals. So and then eventually that grew into, can I make $100 a day so I don't have to get a summer job? And that's what I did that. But that was how I got started, was just learning how to grow an audience on social, specifically Twitter, and then ultimately monetizing that. And that's what got me into everything else in my career.
Mhm. How did the whole interest in building something around rap kind of start and all of that?
So I was always, people always say create something for yourself.
Mhm.
And when I look back at when I started Rap TV, I think that was kind of the basis of it. I had already been in the social media quote unquote game for 4 to 5 years at that point. I had already become an expert at growing audiences on social, had already created tens of millions of followers on other call it accounts, had already had a lot of success building consumer brands, building a self-serve ad platform. And for Rap TV, I wanted to build a real media brand. And for me, it simply started out of it just a need for me. Like as a rap fan, I've always been a huge fan of rap music since I was in elementary school, And it started out for me just being so lost in this space of rap as a consumer. Not knowing who the new artists are, not knowing what music to listen to, just being out of the loop. And I realized that there was no one doing a good job of letting the average rap fan know what's going on today in the world of rap. And simply through that, I realized that there's tons of rap blogs, but people live on social. That's where they want to get their news from, and no one was doing it at the time. So I figured I'm good at growing an audience, good at growing community online. I can do this, and that was simply just started with that idea.
Mhm. So what was like the content strategy? Like, should we find people that are more up and coming and post their stuff? Should we post some stuff that's relevant today? Like, how did you kind of figure all that out and get that done?
So initially, it was just trying to post viral content because we were
Mhm.
trying to grow the audience. there was less of a thought on. So initially, it was just trying to post viral content to grow the audience, appeal to, they call it mass market, right? Like free people loved freestyles. They loved these viral types of rap videos, could be with rappers or random people rapping. We had a good idea of what creates viral content. Eventually, as we were growing the audience, that shifted from, okay, now we have an audience, we need to keep this audience engaged, to eventually, okay, now we have to create a community. And then ultimately, how do we become the authority in the space and the legitimate news source where people, as you said, get and digest their music from us and create the trust with our audience? So to me, that was kind of the natural progression of how the content evolved within rap TV.
Mhm. And were you like finding the content yourself and just doing it all yourself initially, like finding what pieces you wanted and putting them together, doing the editing yourself?
No, I was never a quote unquote poster on rap. Even the day I made it, I had someone else who was already with me at that point for like 6 to 8 years running my social accounts, and we had built a great working relationship. Um, he became a good friend of mine, and when I had the idea for it, I put him on the account, told him the opportunity, and worked closely with him um, on understanding the strategy, the nuances, is how to grow the account, is how to talk to our our fans, is how to get rappers engaged in the community. So I was involved from a strategic sense, but I was never the one finding content, posting it, etc.
Hmm. How did you guys get the at rap name? That's incredible.
Um, so I found out who had it prior, and lucky enough for me, I had already kind of created a name for myself in the social media space because of that platform I had created called Caffeine Digital. So essentially, if you were, call it a Twitter influencer or Instagram influencer, call it really theme page owner, you were most likely using my platform to monetize. This was between 2015 and 2017, really those peak years. And the person who owned it, I had already met with in person. I'd paid him hundreds of thousands of dollars, I most likely, and we built trust, and we were able to work something out between us.
Hmm. So how long did it take to go from this idea to like, wow, like this is the de facto source of rap information on social media?
How long did, I mean, we're I think um it's hard to say the definitive the time, the like pinpoint the
Yeah.
exact time. um but I would say like probably 4 to 5 years it took for us to really establish ourselves as like a real, the real, to me, the real authority in the space. And on that note, everyone always asks, "Oh, how did you do it? How did you grow?" Right
Yeah.
now, just on the Instagram, the main rap Instagram, we have 12 million followers, which seems like a lot. It is a lot, um, but people always ask as if there's a secret sauce, and there is none. I just said it took 4 to 5 years to probably to get to that point where I felt we were the authority. We had first movers advantage. We had great strategy, but more importantly, we posted tens of thousands of times. You know, and when you post tens of thousands of times and you're first movers, and that consistency over 7 to 8 years, you're going to have success. That's it. There was a single day we took off, and the bigger you get, the kind of domino, it's almost like an avalanche effect occurs where we have more reach, more distribution, and therefore able to grow faster. So that kind of flywheel took an effect after we kind of reached that, like I mentioned, that point, that pivotal point where we've developed a reputation for ourselves. And yeah,
How have you seen like kind of social media growth change? Because you mentioned initially you're trying to just get viral videos, but then also it's about a lot of content, having a lot of content out there. Like, how has that kind of the algorithm evolved over time since you began to where it is
yeah.
now?
So a big way I grew the account initially was paying other accounts to promote us.
Mhm.
And that was when the algorithm was still chronological. There was no, like algorithmic thing to it. So it became pretty predictable how much money it would cost to grow per thousand followers, let's say.
Mhm.
And that was the main way how all accounts would grow on Instagram. It was incredibly hard to grow organically,
Mm,
pre-algorithm, call it. So when that shift occurred, I think now more than ever, it has become harder and easier in many regards to grow on social. Instagram really rewards accounts that have great activity and engagement. So being mindful. So, anyways, our entire strategy now is just organic growth,
mhm,
as everyone should be. And how do you grow organically? You post a lot, you post amazing content that people want to share, and you do that consistently. And all of the platforms work the same way, they'll reward you. So we are, the brand is constantly um, under testing out different content formats, understanding what type of content people the audience wants, and that I think that approach to content is how anyone can be successful on social, whether you're a media brand, influencer, even a consumer brand. That's how you should be thinking about how you create content on ads. So just testing, iterating, seeing how your audience talks about it, interacts with it, engages with it, and you know naturally evolving from that.
mhm. So, I mean, you've got something else you're building now too. You've got some other projects you've been involved in. Like, how do you view balancing your time at this point? Because you have built this from nothing to this incredible source. But there's a lot of areas that I think you're interested in too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I haven't been involved in the day to day of Rap TV for around 2 years now.
Mhm.
Um, so there's a CEO that runs the company. So I took a big step away from quote unquote work for a year and a half, and really just enjoyed this space. And, since I was 19, I was constantly chasing
Mhm.
opportunities, being in the mix of it. And for the first time, I was able to kind of step off the treadmill, so to speak, and take that time to do work inward on myself. Think about what do I want my life to look like, instead of just chasing business opportunities. So yeah, currently I'm working on a new travel business you mentioned called Repriced, where we essentially aim to be the price protection software of the travel industry,
Mhm.
and that's really exciting. We're launching the next month or so. I launched my own podcast about 3 months ago called Second Self, which was the inspiration after I stopped working and realized that just kind of what happens when people lose the association of what they used to do. So for me, it was like I was an entrepreneur. I am this business. When you lose that, you kind of lose a sense of self. You can lose a sense of identity. And I just thought it would be really interesting to create a space for other people to talk about. But yeah, I would say those two things. I'm doing some advisory work for consumer brands, some mentorship for just aspiring entrepreneurs, and that keeps me pretty busy.
Mhm. Yeah, it's a lot of different things. It's great that you've got a good amount of stuff that you can do. So through the podcast that you've been doing, I've been looking at some of the content you've created around there. I think it's really good stuff. What are you trying to kind of get out of people? Like you mentioned this like second self experience. Like how are you trying to get that out of people? Because it is kind of vulnerable.
Yeah, I think, well, I let people know ahead of time what the podcast is and what
Mhm.
the expectations are. And I think that um, people know it attracts a specific type of person to want to share that,
Yeah.
and it's not for everyone. So I think that it's been relatively easy for my at least my guests to share, be vulnerable, etc., because I think for a lot of these people that is the most powerful experience they probably had in their recent years, and they want to share it so that they can help other people on their journey. And to me, the inspiration behind the podcast even was, I think when you step out of it, that's when you're able to reflect the most and experience the most wisdom, and therefore share it with others. Hopefully, help people. So, yeah,
Yeah, no, I like that. That's great. It's good you've got expectations, definitely set. So let's jump into a bit of this like travel business that you're working on. Can you talk about like how that's going to function, what it is, and how it's going to help people?
Yeah. So essentially, the travel industry has dynamic price changing. Prices go up and down for hotels, airlines, even cruise ships, all, rental car industry. And most consumers are focused on booking the cheapest price at the point of purchase. And they completely forget about the post purchase uh, price volatility. So that remains a big opportunity for consumers and for a business. So now we are, on behalf of customers, tracking their flight or their travel itinerary, starting with flights. And when we find that price discrepancy, we're able to offer the service to get them the cheaper price on their ticket. So it's fairly straightforward business model, but we have a lot of exciting ideas on how to evolve into just kind of like a post-purchase AI kind of concierge, and a lot of the different things we can do once we understand how our customers travel, what they're booking, and the types of things they're buying. And we think it can be a really interesting offer. So yeah.
How do you find out, like, how do you track all and get all that information and understand when the prices change? Like, how often do they change? Especially like, I mean, I don't know how early generally people book flights, but I book flights like could be a month and a half out, 2 months out. Like how do you, like, do they change really that frequently in that short amount of time? Like, I'm just curious how the whole process works and how often there's an opportunity.
So prices change based on the individual flight's demand, capacity, availability, all that. So every flight's different. The further out you book a flight, the more times it's going to change. So for if you're going to book a flight with, or just if you're a customer of Reprice, we would recommend to book it as far out in advance, because with because you know that you will get the cheapest price. It'll give us more time to find the absolute cheapest price. And if the price keeps dropping, we'll continue to reprice it. But prices of flights can change dozens of times from the
Mhm.
time they release the ticket to the time the flight takes off. Um, so yeah,
It's a lot. Yeah, I mean, I haven't heard of any business like this. It's an interesting idea.
yeah,
When's it going live, Daniel?
it is going hopefully in the next 30 days.
Wow.
Yeah, so I'm really pumped for it. Works really well. We've had an MVP. We've saved me money on like flat 5 flights already. It's pretty awesome to be a proud customer. And who likes anything better than free money?
Right.
So
Yeah.
it's yeah, I'm pumped for it.
How's the whole business model work for you guys?
It's pretty simple. It's free to use. We take a percentage of the money we save on the percentage of money we save. So if we save $100, we charge $25 for that service. If we don't save you any money, it's free.
Interesting.
So we make it kind of a no-brainer to sign up and use.
Yeah, definitely is. So what's kind of your trajectory for that? Like, what is the vision long term for this?
Well, the vision long term is to um, be, as I mentioned, we're starting with flights, but to be that price protection software for the entire travel industry.
Mhm.
And as consumers book their travel, they know that we are just an important part of the travel experience that they need to have. And I think if we're able to accomplish that, it allows us to build a roadmap into many different avenues as part of that kind of like post-purchase concierge I mentioned, or even other avenues as well. So, but I think if we're just able to accomplish that, it's a home run. So
Yeah, and you're able to automatically rebook just through AI the same flight again at a lower cost.
we don't rebook it; we reprice it. So depending on how the specific ticket the customer purchased, the airlines will honor the repricing of the ticket. So the ticket number doesn't change, confirmation number doesn't change. So yeah,
You just have to tell the airline basically.
yeah.
Hmm, interesting. Yeah. So I mean, you had this journey you mentioned. You took some time off. You now have a bunch of different other focuses than where you were before. What do you kind of see like the next kind of, I don't know, the next phase of Daniel? Like what does that look like in the next couple of years? Is it you're going to continue with the podcast, have a lot of important conversations, more focused on the flight business than at Rap, but just kind of in general, like so you don't get caught up in just the identity in one thing. How are you going to like shift to that? in the next couple of years?
It's a great question. Something I'm still trying to figure out myself. I think if I'm able to enjoy what I do,
Mhm.
which I'm still trying to figure out, that's how I want to live. That's what a success means to me. Um, I've found, I've obviously worked for the majority of my career. I've only taken a small piece of that time out. What I realize is not doing any work is certainly unfulfilling. I
Mhm.
think that doing work that you're proud of in any regard, whether that's working out or working on a business or advising, making impact, being useful, um, is something that, and working towards something, is something that are all things that are very important to me. So whether that's in a business sense, in a philanthropic sense, and a podcast where I create a space where I'm able to give back and help people in any way, um, that's it. But in terms of the specifics of like how, yeah, my life will look like, still on that journey, still trying to figure that out myself.
Yeah. Well, it's good that you have a good perspective on this and you're conscious about it all. It's something that you're taking time to figure out. Yeah, it's, if some people aren't even aware.
Most people aren't aware.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's something I spend a lot. I've spent a lot of time thinking about, almost like, and that's the key word, thinking about, which is this year I wanted to do more action to actually enjoy what I enjoy doing. Do I enjoy running a travel company? Do I enjoy running a podcast? Do I enjoy creating events? Do I, so I found that this year I'm trying to learn more through action. And I think that if you're in a place where where you have a good sense of self, then you're able to live a life that hopefully is aligned with that self. And I think that's where true fulfillment and happiness lies. So yeah,
I would definitely agree. Well, Daniel, that was all the questions that I had. I appreciate you taking the time and doing this. I think it's impressive what you've accomplished so far. I mean, you're still pretty young and you've built at Wrap to something amazing. All these other, the monetization strategies for the space. And now you've got something really exciting and new that I haven't heard anyone do anything like before. So I wish you success with that and appreciate you coming on.
for sure. Thank you for having me.